Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. I often get questions from viewers asking me how much fabric do I need to buy to make a quilt. So I'm going to show you how to calculate to make a really simple quilt. So this is good for you if you're a beginner, and that's making a large square quilt. Here is a list of the average size of mattresses from a crib all the way down to a king. But you can't always go by this because sometimes maybe you've bought the deluxe mattress. It's extra thick. Did you buy the California king or the regular king? So I'm going to show you how to measure your mattress so you calculate the amount of fabric to buy. Now you need to keep in mind just how big you want this quilt. Do you want it just to cover the top of the bed? Or do you want it to go over a little bit? Do you want it to cover just the mattress? Or do you want it to cover the mattress and the box spring? Or do you even want it to go all the way to the floor? So the first thing you need to do is decide that. Just how big do you want it? Once you've decided that, then measure from that point at the side, whether it's all the way to the floor or just up here. Measure all the way that side where you want it to start. Measure across and then down the other side. Write that down as your width. Now the length, you're going to start at the head of the bed and measure again how far down you want it to be. And then write this one down as your length. So you need to also have in mind just how big of squares you want to work with. I'm going to calculate this for using 10-inch squares. So go ahead and plug that number in. Write down you want to use 10-inch squares. And then to calculate the number of squares for the width and the length, you're going to divide the square size into the width of the bed or that area you want to cover. Do the same thing. For the length, also divide that by 10 inches. So I'm going to use just a standard twin bed size for this particular bed. So the width is 72 inches. I'm going to divide it by 10 inches, which is the size of the squares I want to use. It comes out to 7 squares, but if you're good at basic math, you'll notice I've got 2 inches that aren't covered yet. So don't worry about this right now. I have a solution for that later on in this particular tip of the week. Now, how many rows of 10-inch squares? So take the length, divide it by 10, and I'm going to need 9 rows, 7 across and 9 down. So take these two numbers, 7 and 9, multiply them together. 7 times 9 is 63 squares that you're going to need total to stitch together to cover this quilt. Now you need to decide, do I want them just all random colors of squares? Then, you just cut a bunch of things up and stitch it together. But maybe you want a particular color theme. Maybe you want different shades of blue or different shades of green. Decide how many prints or colors you want to use. Divide that number into 63 and you get 21 squares of each color you have to cut out. Before you cut the squares, add 1/2 inch. So my squares, I want to cut 10 inches plus 1/2 inch, so the squares will be cut 10.5 inches each. Now this is how much fabric you need to buy to cut out those squares and cover the size of that quilt. So for 10-inch squares, and remember you're going to cut your 10-inch squares 10 and a half. So I'm now going to use 10 and a half number. So out of each third of a yard, you can get 4 squares. So just remember that. So when it's folded in half and then you cut it, you do 2 cuts here, there's actually 4 squares because the fabric is folded in half. So you have 2 squares underneath, 2 squares on top. So then calculate that for the number of squares for each of the colors you want to use. Now, to cut your fabric, here's the fold. Here's your selvage edges. Cut this edge straight. Move your ruler over 10 and a half inches and do a cut. If you still are going to continue with this same piece of fabric, just don't move your fabric, move over, cut another 10 and a half inch wide section. So keep cutting till you have enough fabric for your squares. Then take each of these pieces that you've just cut, turn it, cut the selvage edges off, go over 10 and a half inches and cut, and go over another 10 and a half inches and cut. And you'll just have a skinny little piece of fabric left over here. When you go to buy whatever batting you want to use, whether it's polyester batting or it's cotton batting, and you want to buy it in the package, it's pre-cut to the size to fit your bed quilt. But if you don't have a standard size, you may or may not have enough in that package. So for me, I wouldn't have had enough because I have an extra thick mattress. It's deluxe because I have a very bad back, so I like those thick, cushy mattresses. So this little package here might have covered it, but maybe not. So make sure before you purchase the fabric, don't just look at the name of the size, look at the actual numbers and make sure you have the measurements of your quilt size that's going to be as it is finished before you purchase this. Remember at the beginning when I was going over the measurements for the quilt and we were measuring the bed itself, and I used 72 inches wide, and when I divided my numbers all into those other numbers, I came out to where one side of my quilt was going to be 2 inches short. So here is a simple solution to that problem. Just add a border to your quilt. Now it would look best if you added a border on at least 3 sides. The 2 sides and the foot of the bed, because that's what's going to show. Your pillows will cover the head of the bed, but there's nothing to say you can't do it on all 4 edges. So what you want to do is do 2 sides, measure them, then cut strips and stitch them on using a 1/4 inch seam. After these are stitched on, measure from the edge of the border all the way across to the other edge, cut 2 strips, one for the top and the bottom, and then stitch those on. If you are interested in doing this particular quilt, it's called my diagonal quilt pattern, and that link will be below your YouTube screen in the description section. Well, I hope this tip of the week was helpful to you, and that as a little homework assignment for yourself, measure your bed just so you can see how this is done. Go through the whole process so you get a better idea of what to do when you're getting ready to make a quilt. So for any of those links, scroll down to the description section, click on the word more. When you click on that, it will expand open, and that section will expand open, and you'll see all kinds of links appearing down there. Remember, this is called my Big Block Diagonal Quilt. Now, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and make sure you check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.